sister was so heartbreaking. It was the time during the pandemic where there was no support, the world was quiet, there was no one emotionally supporting me. It was just hard to reach out and get the emotional help that you needed. You couldn't see your loved one at the hospital without the doctors and nurses telling you, yes, it's okay to visit them. It was just a difficult time. At the time that I lost my sister, my mom was also in rehab, so I was dealing with that, and I was also working at the same time. So it was the most horrific time for me. It really was because my life changed in minutes, and I never thought I was going to lose my sister. I lost my sister on March 17, 2022. And going through all the craziness that I dealt with at the time with the doctors and nurses, trying to save her life was very challenging for me. And so was the doctors and nurses because this pandemic was new to everybody. The world was quiet. People were dying left to right internationally. So the world was so different. We didn't know, it was unexpected. We didn't know if the world was going to be better or not. So it was the stress level with that as well. It was a stress level because now I have to protect myself and make sure I'm okay so I can support my family with my boys and also support the help that my sister needed. When my sister called me on March, so she was in the hospital for about a week and a no, actually she was in the hospital for like 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. I'm pretty sure. So when my sister called me, I believe it was the end of April, and she told me that she wasn't feeling good, that she had this massive headache, and she had a really bad cough, and she was having a hard time breathing. Well, my sister had very underlying condition. She was an asthmatic person, so that was high risk for her to get the COVID. She didn't even know how she got the COVID. She was working part time. She hardly went out. It was the most stressful time for the whole family. And I didn't even know what was the right thing for me to do at the time for her. Things moved so fast. I didn't have time to slow or process anything because my mom needed my help. My sister was basically good 1 minute and not good the next minute. So I had a hard time processing everything. And how can you process things when things are moving so fast? You don't have time to process. And I was fortunate to hear her voice for the very last time. And it was very heartbreaking for me because at the time, I just wanted to hug her and tell her it's going to be all right. You're going to be fine. And I'm just happy that I spoke to her and I told her that I loved her and that I was going to be there to support her. And it is the most terrifying thing to help someone medically and make the right decisions for her. I was on a daily basis with her doctors and nurses, and I'm so thankful that she had great doctors and nurses in her team. She was in a great hospital, but I honestly thought that she was going to make it. I never thought that she was going to pass. And my life changed in seconds because now I became my mom's caretaker. And I had a hard time dealing with that because I didn't have any family support. I was basically on my own. I'm a single mom. I am the provider for my home. And it was the most stressful time ever that I dealt with. So my grieving was different with my sister. It was totally different because the world was isolated. I couldn't go to my friend's house if I felt depressed. So I was really, really, really sad And it was really hard for me to navigate my own life at the time because the world, the way it was unexpectedly. The world was changing whether we liked it or not, and we couldn't control things. And at the time, I would tell her doctors and nurses, maybe if you did a blood test from me, she will be able to at least live. There are certain deadlines, as you know, with COVID, and her body wasn't released either because they would put that on her death certificate that she passed away with COVID. And it was just a really horrific time that I lost my sister. And I know that other people, if you lost a loved one in COVID, you know exactly what I was experiencing. At the time, I just felt hopeless. I just felt like I couldn't make it to that understanding that she passed. When the nurse called me, I was so in shock because my sister was young. She died at 50, 51. And what do you do? What do you do now that the world is silent and you don't have any emotional support and you can only call your friends? And it's not the same. You couldn't hug anybody. They couldn't tell you that they were going to be there for you. So when I lost my sister, it was a very isolating, grieving, isolated time for me. It really was. And dealing with that emotion, and people really didn't understand what I was going through. So I didn't have anybody that can really understand because now I am my mom's caretaker. And now I don't have help with her. And my mom was devastated as well. Of course she is, because no parent wants their child to be buried before them. So not only was I dealing with my grieving, I also had to deal with my son's grieving because they lost their aunt unexpectedly. And now I had to deal with my mom's grieving. So it took me a while for me to see what I can do that's best for me. At the time, COVID was a huge thing with the world the way it was, the uncertainty of the world, the uncertainty of the future. So I was grieving on that too. I didn't know if I was going to make it. I didn't, and COVID was terrifying. You know, people around you, your loved ones were just passing with the blink of an eye. And there's so much you can protect yourself. And you also now how to protect yourself double the time now because now that your family needs you. So dealing with my sister's grieving was very isolated. And I was very, very depressed and very sad. There was moments where I was so angry. I was so angry in the fact of what had happened to me and my family. Angry because there was no solution with COVID at the time, and the doctors and nurses weren't educated on this plague. And you always wonder, what if it was done this way? And there was deadlines to COVID too. If you got tested with COVID, it's not the same how it is now. So it took me a long time. It took me to be in a peaceful state to know that, and you question things, even though your faith is also questionable at that time too. And I was holding on to my faith, but sometimes you feel that your prayers aren't answered. And it was an unexpected time for me. So I tried to do the best I could do for my sister. And I'm grateful that at least I got to hear her voice for the very last time. And I'm grateful that she knew that she wasn't on by herself, that I was there to help her as the best I can do for her. So my heart pours for anyone that lost their loved ones around COVID, because I know that experience was horrific. It was horrific. And I'm sending my love to you. So I've learned so many things after I lost my sister, not to sweat the little small stuff, to to enjoy your life like if it's the last day. Try to forgive and forget. Not forget, but to forgive. And that's what I've learned. When my sister passed, there were so many things that I didn't know about my sister, which made me even more sadder for her, because she was holding things in secrecy, and I wish she didn't have to do that. I wish she lived her life freely as she should have. And I also learned from my sister that who cares what people think about your life? And who cares about what anybody thinks about you? I've learned that through her. And I've learned also that our time is very, very limited. Very limited. So I'm here to remind you, live your best life. Live your best life, because you never know what tomorrow is going to be. Thank you for watching. Until next time.